This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine.
Welcome to Strangers No More, where all people are loved with the love of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. In the household of faith, there are to be no strangers, no foreigners, no rich and poor, no outside others. As fellow citizens with the saints, we are invited to change the world for the better from the inside out, one person, one family, one neighborhood at a time.
Thank you, Andrew. Hi, I'm Maggie Slighte, and welcome to Strangers No More. This is a bonus episode. We are just here to talk about one thing and one thing only. One of the members of our cast had something to do with Color the Campus's Rainbow Day. Bradley, why don't you tell us what you were up to?
Yeah. So on March 4th, 2021, we had our fourth semi-annual Rainbow Day at BYU and all the other CES schools, and it was wildly successful. We had a large amount of people that participated from all over the world. It created a lot of traffic and a lot of excitement, and then we ended the Rainbow Day by lighting the Y in rainbow lights. Which surprised most everybody because I did not tell anybody. I kept it very secret to pretty much everybody.
Sacred, not secret.
Yes.
Secret, not sacred.
Yeah, so it was quite the event.
So I'm interested in how you did it. It sounds like you all just took phones or colored lights. I mean, you didn't do anything to actually physically affect the Y, did you?
Yeah, so there were about 40 to 50 volunteers that all hiked the Y that night, and they each had two different floodlights. So it's kind of like flashlights, a little bit bigger, about I don't know exactly the diameter or the dimensions of them, but each participant held two, and we had everything spaced out, so we knew where to tell people to stand or to sit along the perimeter of the Y, which is almost 400 feet tall. It's huge. So quite the
and you
quite
made
the display.
National news. Now, what was that like for you to hike up there? Was it cold or?
So I actually was not one of the ones that hiked. I had other things that I had to do, and I wanted to make sure that I had good cell reception for when it happened, so that I could kind of control the narrative of what it was about and what was going on, because I knew it was going to get a lot of attention. And on Twitter and Instagram and Facebook, it blew up, and so I wanted to make sure that I was there.
So you stayed in your bathrobe and
yeah,
and fuzzy slippers.
And yeah.
How long did it last? How long?
It was lit for an hour. And we actually did have somebody live stream it. We had a whole setup, so you can actually look it up on YouTube and watch the whole hour on YouTube. So
that's great.
What kind of reports of the environment while they were doing it? Was it more excitement, more serene, more sacred? How did they feel as it was going on?
A lot of emotions. A lot of different people have told me that they saw it and they burst out into tears, and they just felt so grateful. And I know for a little bit, some people thought that it was BYU that had lit the Y. BYU was quick to make that known that they did not light the Y. But I think it just really created a opening up of the discussion and the conversation with people of like, what does this mean? What can we do about this? And I think it really just helped people to feel comfortable and knowing that there's so many allies and there's a whole community that's here to support. So.
And Bradley, there's something, I just spoke at BYU for the psychology department, and thank you for joining us, but there's a professor there that emailed us all the day before and said she would be wearing her rainbow on March 4th. And I think that was sent to Charlie Bird, myself, you, and 𝗁𝒂𝘂𝗀𝒕𝒍𝒆, who is in the honors code. He works in the honor code department. So there was a lot of support, but I want to say there is nothing in the handbook. Even Elder Oaks said there's nothing wrong with us wearing a rainbow. So if somebody says it doesn't mean if we wear a rainbow or put a rainbow flag out on our street in Utah or anywhere, that it doesn't mean that we're not temple worthy, it doesn't mean that we're supporting an anti-cause. And I think that's important for people to know that are listening, that it's okay for, I mean, my temple president bought me a rainbow Apple watch band, and his wife, I'm not wearing it today, I'm wearing the silver Apple one, but yeah.
It's like, it's about love. It's about wanting to be supportive, right, Bradley?
Yeah, if for those who had concerns and that weren't in support of it, it really just comes down to a misunderstanding of what it was about. Because if you're uncomfortable with the pride colors, which this wasn't a pride, that was a big thing that people were confused about. They thought that Rainbow Day was pride. Pride and Color the Campus, Rainbow Day, they have similar messages, but they are distinct and they are different.
It also wasn't a protest, right?
Yeah, it also wasn't any kind of protest. Our display was a symbol of unity with BYU and with the community, with the church, just to let them know, like, hey, we are here. You can't ignore us. We made that known. But we want to work with you. We don't want to be enemies. We don't want to cause any contention or anything like that. So it wasn't a protest, but it was a bold display that I think brought a lot of people together.
You're essentially the Who's in Horton has a here's a Who. We are here. We are here.
Yeah.
How many people were involved in the actuality of lighting the light?
So there's about 40 to 50 people that we needed to stand to hold the lights. We had additional people bring like hand warmers. There was even dinner provided for all of those people beforehand. I was able to get in contact with news people, news media outlets to kind of give them a little bit of a heads up. So KSL came with a helicopter to film it. And they have some of those on their website if you want to see those. I'm not totally sure how many people exactly.
Maggie, you might want to pull your thing. I think some of your stuff's covering your mic.
Your scarf.
Yeah. Make sure all that's out. Okay, go ahead. It's probably good.
Now I forgot what I was asking.
Where those pictures came from.
Is that where those really direct pictures came from, the KSL?
KSL or Salt Lake Tribune, there was quite a few people that I don't know quite who did what, because there was a lot of people that took pictures and got some really good ones.
There were some really good pictures of it that came out.
So here's what I'm interested in. I'm interested in the aftermath. Good, bad, negative, all of the above. What's the aftermath?
Yeah, it has been very overwhelming for me. I'm so drained, even 10 days or 11 days, whatever it is after, because it has been overwhelmingly positive. There's been a lot of good. But even with the good, it's still a lot of pressure on me to, what do we do now? What do we do next? And people are asking me to
Pride Month.
Yeah, people are wondering what I'm doing for Pride, and I've never done anything for Pride personally or with Color the Campus. I don't really have any plans to.
And that's in June, in case anybody listening is wondering.
That's in June, and the reason for that, I mean, this is a little bit of a side comment, but the reason I don't do anything for June is because that's for Pride. Color the Campus isn't Pride. I don't want people to conflate the two, get confused with what they both stand for. And also don't want to take away the importance of Pride, because Color the Campus is a very specific audience of Latter-day Saints and BYU and CES. Pride is nationwide, maybe even global. I'm not totally sure.
It's global.
Global.
It has a very different audience, and so it would seem kind of strange to me to try to take away from that, because it's just a different story that we're telling. So a lot of people are wanting to like create petitions and make protests and what do we do next, and I think those are great, but that's not what Color the Campus is about. This was kind of just to open up the door for people to use it as a springboard to take it where you want. But it's been overwhelming for me to try to figure out what to do next, because there's a lot of pressure, because I kind of I grab the attention of the world. So
now
what are you going to do with it?
Brad, this is something you probably talk afterwards, but the professor talked about, she told me after we had our 2 classes we attended on day where I spoke at, if you can for the end of April, I can be there. And she said she would be supporting it with all of her students coming and BYU, biology department, and she'll make sure that it's an honor code up. There'll be a devotional, an FHE if you want it. So what I want to do next, let's make it happen.
Yeah, I've got lots of smaller things planned, I think, because my main concern is just trying to make sure the LGBTQ plus community feels welcomed. And I know at like an institutional level, both at the church level and at the school level, there are things to like make that happen. But I'm looking even deeper to like the cultural level. And if we can change the culture, if we can start discussions, if we can open hearts, that's what's going to make the most change to me. And so that's my main focus, is just making sure the LGBTQ plus community is doing okay and like they're feeling loved and supported, no matter what the policies or the administration is doing.
Yeah, that's
Well,
great.
we really appreciate you doing that, Bradley. And I'm sure that you've not only made a lot of friends, but I am sure that you're also saving lives.
I personally been throwing your name around. I'm like, I know the guy who did that. I know.
I have to. and well, I'm in a couple of groups that you guys aren't in. I'm in some that you are and some that you aren't. And one of the groups that I'm in that I don't think anybody else in the cast is in a parents group. And I want to express the overwhelming support that Color the Campus has from the parents of LGBTQIA people, because I tell you, the parents just loved it. The parents just loved it.
Wouldn't it be cool if someone mentions it at General Conference? That's what I think.
That's what I would. That would be. Oh, I don't know if I can handle that, but it would be way cool.
Well, let's just hope that the conversation keeps going and that it doesn't get quieter, that we all keep talking about it and that we all keep loving one another, really is what it all comes down to. Thank you, Bradley, for taking the time to talk to us about it. Use love. We love you, and so does God.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.